has ever seen. Stoneforge Mystic and Snapcaster Mage, full play sets. Well, Josh isn't even playing Snapcaster Mage, but has 2 Stoneforge Mystics to find 1 Batterskull.
Joshua on the play starts out with a Scalding Tarn. Javier with an Underground Sea into Thoughtseize.
Which is going to get met by a Brainstorm.
Josh cracks his Scalding Tarn.
Gets a Tundra.
A Black Border Tundra.
Oh, yeah. Josh Ravitz, known gentleman and scholar of the Legacy community as far as style points go. Oh, Pierce. Okay.
So Josh is protecting the mystery of his hand. He doesn't want Javier to know what's going on. Oof.
Doesn't have the second blue source for the counterbalance in his hand.
He has a Guru Plains.
Yeah.
You were not kidding.
No, sir.
Javier is going to crack a Flooded Strand. So going to go for a Stoneforge Mystic here.
Yeah, probably Tundra, and the only reason to activate it on his turn would be Stoneforge Mystic.
And there it is. He's going to shortcut, get his equipment.
Looks like Josh's hand isn't that great, that he has Terminus and Entreat the Angels in his hand. Terminus, Entreat, Counterbalance, Jace, Engineered Explosives. And no third land forthcoming.
So Javier switches up for Umezawa's GT. And is going to finish shuffling and present.
Which makes me think that he has Batterskull in his hand already. He does. Yeah, anytime you fetch GT against Tundra Plains, already have Batterskull. Josh peels a fairly nice one off the top. Third land, which is also second blue source.
Yep, there's the Arid Mesa. He's going to be able to go get himself a Tundra.
Cast himself a Counterbalance.
So he's going to have the Counterbalance without a top, so flipping blind. And Javier's already got everything he needs on the board.
Yeah. Javier is going to get to bring for 5 a turn 2 turns from now. Josh's Brainstorms in the mid-game are going to be real good when he peels them. Because he's going to get to put back 2 Miracles, fix his Counterbalance if he wants. His Brainstorms are just going to do a lot.
But he's going to need to draw them. So
right.
Here we go. Josh is going to play the Counterbalance. And ship the turn. Javier is most likely just going to play a land and ship it back, waiting to activate his Stoneforge Mystic.
Mishra's Factory, it looks like Inquisition in his hand. So he could Inquisition, see what's on top of his library, see what's in his hand, but no, he's just going to settle for vialing in a Batterskull, so to speak.
Stoneforge Vial.
Josh drawing Detention Sphere. Detention Sphere, the new Oblivion Ring of sorts. A blue-white Oblivion Ring that gets all copies of a card.
So it's very good against just random armies of tokens.
Yeah. If you're lucky, then you get 2 of the same actual card.
Yeah.
You get to pitch it to Force of Will, which is nice.
Oh, very relevant, yeah. So Javier went for the end of turn Batterskull, and now the Germ is going to go on the offensive.
Yeah, no attacks from Mystic or Factory means that he's intending on either vialing in Jit or casting Vendilion Click. Josh drawing Vendilion Click. Still no 4th land. He's going to need an answer to that Batterskull at some point.
Yeah, this is a very
he's on
situation.
He's on a 3-turn clock. I'm not sure if that JIT is that great given how few creatures Josh plays, but certainly fine to get it in
It's just
play.
another addition to the clock. After it hits the first time, he can just use it to +4.
Yeah.
So Javier goes for the Inquisition of Kozilek. Josh indicates the counterbalance trigger and flips over a Spell Pierce. Get you.
Good for his hand, bad for his future.
Yeah,
Since
certainly-
he's still not casting his Jace.
He doesn't want to draw that Spell Pierce, but he has no way of controlling his draw step right now.
Yeah, he's going to get to Detention Sphere the Batterskull now that Javier doesn't have 3 mana up to return it. So that is going to cut down on the clock a bit.
So Javier elects to equip the Jite to a Stoneforge Mystic and then attack for another 5 points of damage total here.
And adding 2 JIT counters.
Taking
So-
Josh to 9, he's going to go up to 27.
The problem is...
Oh, but
Oh?
Combat Step Vendilion Click.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because even if Josh Detention Spheres the Batterskull, Javier can attack with Mishra's Factory and use both JIT counters that he would earn this turn to pump the Mystic and deal Josh 7 from 9 is 2. So even a 4th land and Engineered Explosives off the top would lose to the Mishra's Factory in play.
So Javier had the Force of Will, pitching Spell Pierce to counter the Vendilion Click, and now the attack does go through. Josh Ravitz down to 9 life. He is going to get to use the Detention Sphere, but his life total is getting a bit too low.
Yeah.
So there it is. Shields down on the Batterskull. Javier with 2 cards in hand is going to give it a thought. Just to represent
Yeah, I
the
don't
possibility.
think that Javier can lose at this point. He just needs to attack with his Factory and Mystic, use JIT counters to to pump his Mystic twice.
Sure, that would be
And bring in for 7. Well, and then even if his Mystic and JIT die to Engineered Explosives for 2+ activation, his Factory still gets in for lethal.
Yeah, Josh just stuck on 3 lands here, has not been able to execute his game plan.
Okay, so he's casting EE for 3. Josh reveals Force of Will to counterbalance. So he didn't use his Mystic, his JIT counters rather. Oh no, he did.
He did, and
then
he
2
got
more
them right
back
back.
on.
So he got in for 5, pumped twice.
So that still means though that... Oh yeah, Josh isn't drawing live because he knows what's on top of his library.
Yeah.
Yeah, Josh just needed to have the 4th land that turn, like the following turn, to EE for 2, and punish Javier for not attacking with Mishra's Factory.
Sure. He needed more mana that game. Stuck on
certainly.
3. He was still able to play a spell each turn, but he needed to be able to start playing 2 spells or possibly some different spells.
Right.
And it didn't help that the blind counterbalance kept showing him non-lands.
Right. So, as with a lot of control matchups, you are going to want to take out your Terminuses. You're going to want to bring in cards that can interact with their creatures in more efficient ways. And, more counter magic, generally cutting your spot removal, if that's all that it does. Swords to Plowshares, a fairly poor card.
Okay, but does Josh have that option here? What can he really bring in that's going to do that for him?
Cutting Swords, normally a good idea against an Esper Stoneblade deck, at least 1 or 2. Gets worse when Javier brings in 3 Dark Confidants. And Liliana of the Veil also attacks from a different angle for Javier. So he's got a pretty good anti-control sideboard plan. He has a Sword of Feast and Famine if he wants it. some Cabal therapies that are probably there for combo. If he wants more discard, then he can have that too. But I would expect to see Bobs, Lilianas, and a sword for some Terminuses and a Supreme Verdict. Sorry. Yeah, the Supreme Verdict. He doesn't play Terminus.
Right, Javier has a singleton Supreme Verdict in his main
his plows, his Verdict, and an Engineered Explosives or an Umezawa's Jite. On the other hand, Josh has a bit of a problem because Javier can attack from the Planeswalker angle, but also has Stoneforge into Batter Skull. So it's a lot of angles for Josh to cover.
And Josh has got, he can bring in 2 copies of Disenchant, 3 copies of Red Elemental Blast.
He's got a Humility that shuts down everything that Javier is doing rather nicely.
Yeah, he has a Humility and an Enlightened Tutor, so he's got a bit of a tutor package going.
Yeah.
And we saw in the main deck he's got that Detention Sphere and Engineered Explosives, so by bringing in the Enlightened Tutor along with the Humility, he increases his chances of getting a Humility, or he can gain more access to the utility spells he's already playing.
Yeah.
Okay, so Josh Ravitz with his Miracle Blade, blue, white, red, has got a little bit of work cut out for him against Javier Arevalo on Esper Stoneblade. Both of these players are 5-1-1 in the Legacy
2
Open.
rounds left, this being the second to last.
So you got to win this one, right? If
you have to win to make top 8.
X2-1, you're not going to make top 8.
So Josh, definitely the control in this matchup, is going to have to deal with a variety of threats from Batter Skull to Jace to Liliana to Dark Confidant to Snapcaster Mage on Counter Magic.
That's a lot of different threats. He's only got the one Detention Sphere, which is kind of his catch-all. He can use Engineered Explosives, perhaps, to take something out strategically. He's got access to 3 colors. But just the sheer variety of threats.
Right, like, do you even bring in Red Elemental Blasts when you can be facing down a Bob Mystic opener?
Right.
Do you want to bring in Disenchants when you could face down Liliana into Jace?
I had this conversation with Matthias earlier where I think someone brought in Red Elemental Blast against Esper Stoneblade, and we were commenting that it's really the white cards that are the problem. So
I mean, sometimes the white cards are the problem, but then there are other times where, they lead off with, turn 2 Brainstorm, turn 3 Snapcaster Brainstorm, turn 4 Jace with Double Force backup. And that's their game plan.
Javier Arevalo declared to me yesterday that he was going to win his tournament. He's going to have to win this round to make that a reality, or even a possibility. They're drawing their opening hands now. Josh Ravitz down a game.
Yeah, looks like he does have Red Elemental Blasts.
Do you want to keep? I don't know. Yeah, okay, so it looks like they both keep. Josh Ravitz starts again with Scalding Tarn. And Javier this time Underground Sea, but no discard spell.
Josh starts off with 2 blue sources, already a better start than the previous game. Javier draws Liliana, which will not get hit by either of the Red Elemental Blasts in Josh's hand, revealing pretty quickly the problem with Josh's varied answers to Javier's even more varied threats.
Right, so he boarded in the Red Elemental Blast. We don't know if he boarded in the Disenchants, but he sure could use the Disenchant right here.
Yeah.
Against the Batter Skull, which Javier fetches up with Stoneforge Mystic.
Yeah, he's going to have, Stoneforge into Liliana. And at that point, you can't be liking Red Elemental Blast too much.
No. Do we have a Painter's Servant in play? No? Okay. Then I don't like it.
Yeah, not one bit.
even from the commentator booth, anytime I hear a judge call on the floor, my head kind of gravitates towards it.
It has to just be classical conditioning at this point.
Yeah. It's Pavlovian. Don't worry about it.
So you probably don't want to work as like a clerk in the justice system? Just hear someone
they're-
address your boss?
No, they
Your
usually
head
say
snaps.
Your Honor.
The honorable judge.
Josh has got his Guru Island. And Javier plays an island of his own, of the Zendikar variety. He's going to pass it back. He's got Batterskull.
Yeah.
Now Josh does have Vendilion Click, right? So
No.
Oh, he's also got Disenchant.
I don't see Vendilion Click. I could be wrong. So Javier wisely playing around Vendilion Click by responding to the fetch land activation,
Right.
taking Josh down from 3 available mana to get Batterskull into play.
So that resolves.
If Josh had 2 dual lands and an island, then and Javier were on the play, right? Like if you have Mystic on the play, it's often correct in a blue mirror to get your Batterskull into play on your 3rd turn main phase to play around them just playing a 3rd land, passing back, and clicking in their own end step.
Right. But in this situation, Josh also has the Disenchant. With, he's just going to go for the Vendilion Click first.
So he's going to try and curve Click into Jace.
We can get a look at Javier's
he's going to
hand
see
as
2
well.
Force of Wills and 1 or 2 blue cards.
Well, there's a Brainstorm, so it could potentially be many more blue cards.
Fair story. Looks like Land Force, Liliana, EE, Brainstorm. Not sure about the card all the way in the back of his hand, though.
Javier's thinking about this. This is a critical play.
The reason why this Vendilion Click is being cast right now is because Josh has a Jace that he wants to resolve. And if Javier has exactly 1 Force of Will or 1 piece of counter magic, then Josh can push that, untap, play his 4th land, Jace, and bounce the Germ token, and then have Click to defend against Stoneforge Mystic. At which point, the last card was a Delta, but at which point, he's squarely in the driver's seat in the matchup. So he ends up taking the Liliana, leaving Force, Brainstorm, EE, Delta, and Mystery card off the top.
There's the Mystery card. He also now has
Academy
a 3/1
runs.
flyer in play.
So Academy Runs joins Javier's fairly stacked hand as far as Jace protection goes.
So now Josh can't just go for a turn 4 Jace.
Yeah, I think he can go for a turn 4 main phase Disenchant. So he goes like fetch land, Disenchant.
Yeah, and bait out one of the forces and use a red elemental blast on it.
Yeah, I think we could actually see like a real fight over this.
But Javier just drew the Academy runes, so
yeah,
how much does he care about that Batterskull at this point?
Right, like he gets to let it resolve, and then Academy runs it more or less at his leisure, and with Brainstorm can actually put it from his graveyard into play with a Germ token on it in 1 turn.
So that was a very unfortunate turn of events for Josh Ravitz, where
Right.
he set up the right line of play.
He was expecting to get a lot of cards out of Javier's hand, initiating what he thought was going to be a big fight over disenchanting the Batterskull. But
there it is.
Javier shows him the reason
runes.
why. Drew it off of the Vendilion Click. Not a whole lot you can do about that. His line was correct, but Javier just drew the perfect card.
But it's going to take some time, and Josh has enough lands that he can continue to build up and fight over the Jace next.
Right, he gets to force through his Jace, which is a good deal. Or he can Caracas his Vendilion Click and keep grinding away Javier's hand.
Yeah, there is that. The Click, meanwhile, is a 3/1, and it's gotten in there twice. Javier goes down to 14.
So if you're Javier, do you want your Batterskull back in your hand?
Well, we gotta wait to see what Josh does. I don't.
He
So
decides
Josh
that
just
yes,
passes.
he does.
Yeah, I think if Josh passes, you do it.
Well, yeah.
So now as Josh. Is he just gonna go for the Caracas replay click?
I think so. I think that's the correct line.
Yep, there he goes.
Target, get Batterskull into play in response.
Yeah, Javier needs to get the Batterskull out of his hand so it doesn't get clicked. That resolves. He says, have your click back. Josh is most likely going to replay it. There it is.
Yeah. Does it resolve? Does it resolve is different from let me see your hand. I've seen a lot of people
just drop their hand.
When faced with a Vendilion Click in the hand of an opponent, splay their hand on the table, which is not how you are supposed to react to a Vendilion Click. You say, it resolves, who are you targeting with its trigger?
Right.
Or just, it resolves, and then stare at them and see if they want to announce their trigger. With the new trigger policy, you get to do something like that. Isn't that right?
What was the question?
If they cast Vendilion Click and you just blankly stare at them,
and they don't say anything,
and they don't say anything,
like target
and
you or
right,
show me your hand. Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
So the new trigger policy for those of us still a little unfamiliar with it, myself included, you are allowed to miss beneficial triggers, things like cards that would be put in your hand, or getting to see information that would otherwise be hidden, or gaining life, or gaining permanence. If you miss that, that's on you.
Yeah.
And Vendilion Click's trigger is a beneficial trigger for you. And so if you miss it, your opponent can decide to not let you have it.
That's a good Cliff's Notes version. So Javier has brainstormed in response to the click still, and now
is forcing pitching force, which is really good for Josh because now he gets to get his other volcanic island. Ooh, a mountain.
Basic mountain.
Yeah, he has that in his sideboard. Probably just boarded in the land for to have more lands in a control matchup. Oh, and he only has one Volk.
And the red elemental blast on Force of Will. Click resolves, target.
And he sees click, strand, EE. So he gets to just say, yeah, keep him. And then Jace, Bouncier, Germ. Ooh, Jace, Bouncier, Germ is actually not going to work. It will work, actually. Yeah, it will work. Because then he blocks with Vendilion, and Caracas is his Vendilion.
So Josh got what he wanted. He got a counter war before Jace. Sees that the coast is clear. And there's Jace the Mind Sculptor, and he still has one red elemental blast as backup. He's going to go for the Brainstorm here.
Brainstorm. So he brainstorms, and then he rebs the click, and then chumps the Batterskull.
He's going to have to do that. He has to chump the Batterskull. He does not want to lose his Jace.
Right.
And
yeah, I can't imagine that Josh would play Jace as a 4-mana Brainstorm in a control mirror.
Right.
The man definitely knows what he's doing.
And he uses another fetch land right after the Brainstorm, clearing the top of his library to get a Tundra.
Casts Sensei's Divining Top and passes with Volcanic Island untapped and Chase on 3 counters.
So that island can either be Red Elemental Blast or Spell Pierce. He's got it in his hand.
Yeah, he's got both available to him.
He knows that Javier is on Engineered Explosives, Flooded Strand, Vendilion Click, and one new card now. Javier going for...
Sword of Feast and Famine. Okay.
It's a decent new card to draw.
Yeah, I would definitely Spell Pierce that one.
And by using the Spell Pierce, he's not going to be able to prevent it from resolving, but he's going to be able to prevent it from equipping.
Well, no.
card.
So he pierces it. Javier lets that resolve, countering the sword, breaks his fetch lands, and Vendilion clicks to Legend Rule, and then kills Jace. Yeah, his Jace is dying, which is an unfortunate turn of events. Yeah, you for sure let this resolve, countering the sword.
Okay. Javier looks at his hand. Sure, he sees it. Cracks his
click,
2 fetch
Legend
lands.
Ruling, pushing the Reb out of... Actually, no, letting him keep the Reb. Kill Jace. Yeah.
Yeah, the red Elemental Blast at this point is just a dead card. Josh is going to have to answer what's already out on the board. And preemptively putting his own click in the graveyard. See if anyone was targeted with the trigger.
It was him.
Takes a look.
Can't imagine that Javier would push that.
Keep it, keep it.
Keep it, he says. Mystic at you. Batterskull at Jace. Jace down. Javier up to 15. Josh down to 15.
So 15
Josh
all.
has some work to do.
He's got a Sensei's Divining Top.
And he knows that the last card in Javier's hand is an Engineered Explosives, does he not?
Yes, yes he does.
Plowed Detention Sphere. Ooh, Detention Sphere, jeez.
Wow.
It's a pretty good answer to Batterskull Academy runs.
Yeah. Stick it in the exile zone, and after the big battle over Sword of Feast and Famine and Vendilion Click, Javier's tapped out, so he cannot bounce it back to his hand.
Yeah, the problem is he knows about Engineered Explosives. So Javier can EE and get his Batterskull back.
So it's not going to be a permanent answer.
Oh, wait. He can Detention Sphere, trigger on the stack, blast his own Detention Sphere, and exile Batterskull permanently.
Wow. Yes. And that would get some mileage out of the red Elemental Blast that is currently kind of a dead card.
See it.
That would be a really, really tight play. He's going to look at his hand. Cast the Detention Sphere. He's left the... Yes! I think he sees it. No!
Nope.
Oh, he switched his mana up. Oh, that's a shame.
I think if you're Josh Ravitz, you probably saw it, but chose not to do it for some reason. I have every confidence that he saw the play. There's just got to be a reason why he thinks it's wrong.
But why also switch up the lands he taps so that he doesn't
have access to Reb? Yeah.
Which he knows that Javier knows about, so he's not really hiding anything.
And he has Engineered Explosives Academy runs. So...
Well, he's going to spin the top again. So maybe he, in his mind, he was just planning on doing that anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a real shame that he did not see that play. The old faceless butcher trick is what I call it.
Sees a Batterskull of his own. Okay. I like it.
And for those of you at home who don't know what we're talking about, if you have an effect like Detention Sphere, O-Ring, or Faceless Butcher, you put the triggered ability on the stack, targeting whatever you want to exile.
And then you remove it from play, triggering the Leaves play ability first. The Leaves play ability resolves,
and doesn't
returning nothing, because the Enters play ability hasn't resolved yet. Then the Enters play ability resolves, exiling it, and there's nothing left to re-trigger the Leaves play ability.
So Josh does find a Batterskull of his own. He flipped the top to get it.
Yeah.
The problem here is in a Batterskull war, the Stoneforge Mystic's ability to save mana on casting it is going to give Javier an advantage.
Also, he who has Jace really does control the War of the Batterskulls.
Yeah, if someone finds Jace and just starts bouncing the opponent's germ. So those germs are going to trade, and life totals now should be 19 to 18. And Javier, I think they're counting. I saw his pen over his graveyard, so he might have been counting his fetch lands to make sure his life totals were correct. Thought sees you.
See Reb, Plow, probably take Reb. Yeah. Jace.
Wow.
Jace, Mystic, Batterskull.
Not bad. That's what this deck is all about.
Fate Seal you.
Puts it on the bottom.
Yeah. Cut the top out of the equation, and suddenly Josh sees 1 card a turn instead of 3.
Right. Josh had put the top on top of his library in order to draw the Batterskull.
Right.
Swords to Plowshares on the Stoneforge Mystic is going to slow down Javier's ability to replay Batterskull.
So you just brainstorm here against the fetch land.
And he sees more Stoneforges, more Jaces, everything an Esper
Everything a
Stoneblade
young
would
man
want.
could dream of, right?
Do you dream of those things? I'm an old man.
Do you not?
So I'm an old man. I dream of like Nintendo Entertainment Systems.
Oh, I was about to say memory jars,
I didn't play during that
Jungle
era.
Lions, Balances, and Sarah Angels.
Sarah Angel, yeah. Sarah Angel, Shivan Dragon.
Yes, those are the things that
When I was a young man.
a middle-aged man dreams of.
So Javier plays the Stoneforge Mystic. Josh is going to return Batterskull.
Josh wisely not cracking his Arid Mesa, as Javier has shown a proclivity to not.
Ooh, yeah. Javier shows the counterspell for Batterskull, and that's it. Josh knows he cannot keep up with